The barrier of entry to a lot of things is lower than people realize. If you're able to pick up tools quickly, then and you're comfortable with not understanding completely everything, then there's a lot of tools that can get 80% of the job done with 20% of the effort. The more it knows about you, the better it works for its intended purpose. So Instagram doesn't get better. It doesn't give you a better picture of that your friend posted if it knows more about you. No, it just gets you the free app. If you're trying to design AI, you kind of need to ask questions about how humans operate. All of the tech that's most successful out there is imitation of nature in a way.
Welcome to Artificial Insights, where we interview product leaders and thinkers in AI about what it means to do AI right. I'm your host, Daniel Maneri, and this week we're doing a back to school special where we're talking to young people early in their careers and seeing what they're doing with AI. Today, we're joined by Dvir Zagury, a mathematical physics undergraduate at the University of Waterloo, who jumped from quantum research at the Perimeter Institute to bringing AI's power to personalized decision making. He created Thersona.com, which learns the user and reminds them of things like a sibling's birthday with a gift link. He's also applying that same AI power to health tech to build models that let people with diabetes run unlimited what-if simulations on their insulin and see their blood glucose hours into the future. Dvir, I know you're in San Francisco now. To start, can you tell us who you're working for there?
Cash App. So Cash App is part of Block, and they started this project called Codename Goose, which is funny for someone from Waterloo, but
Canadian,
yeah. But Goose is like an agent orchestrator, and it's open source, and I'm working on that for some of their internal purposes. One of them is to prevent fraud and exploitations of minors through their Cash App.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's super cool. And being involved in development for agents, very
yeah,
timely.
yeah.
But you've also done some quantum stuff as well. My degree is in mathematical physics, although it's been over 10
Cool,
years now. So
cool,
I
cool.
really enjoy that stuff. I saw you get to do at least, I think, a while of work, maybe like a year at the Perimeter Institute. How'd you get to that?
I was there full time for 8 months, and then I continued part time for 4. It was really cool. I worked under two supervisors, Dr. Rob Feckens and Ellie Wolf. They work under the Quantum Foundations umbrella, and so what that means is pretty much the most foundational questions of quantum theory. So if you know quantum, then it's Bell's theorems and inequalities and stuff like that, which is super awesome. Like I remember I chose to do physics because obviously I read a bunch of physics books, and I was like, oh, like, wow, this is super cool.
Yeah,
And you don't really see all those paradoxes in the classes. And maybe some every once in a while that is very briefly kind of talked, and then you actually do math.
yeah,
But quantum foundations actually do tackle those paradoxes, but in a formal sense. And so that was very fun. So we did that along with causal inference, which is it's kind of like a fun science, because causal inference is there's this famous correlation doesn't mean causation phrase that
yep.
people say a lot. So causal inference is when can you figure out causation from a bunch of correlations? And then further, what can you do once you know the causal structure behind something? That allows you to answer a whole lot of stuff like interventions. What would happen if I intervene on the system? What would happen, rather than just look at what's associated with that outcome?
Hmm.
And more, and you can kind of go higher level and ask counterfactuals. What would have happened had I had done something different in the past? And
Cool.
so the way it connects to quantum foundations is through Bell inequalities. There's a causal structure. When you have this whole experiment of entangled particles, you got Alice and Bob that kind of measure up and down, and the agreement between them is just too high. And so, what's the causal structure behind it? It doesn't make sense if you look at normal statistics, but so there's this quantum classical gap is the word people throw. And how do we make sense of it? And that's what the quantum foundations kind of the root question there.
No, that's actually very cool. And
Yeah.
could you just give like a really brief of like what that means, like how a Bell inequality leads you to, I need to figure out more than just what's correlated?
Yeah, so we see these correlations that don't make sense. They're too strong for the setup that we put out in the world for the experiment setup, and so we're trying to make sense out of it as physicists and scientists, and we just interested people. And what we see is there's multiple kind of cheat outs. You can say that everything was already predetermined at the exact beginning of the universe, and then that kind of takes out any uncertainty. You can also have another sheet out, and it makes more sense if you do it graphically. You show like this cause points to this other thing. But another cheat out is that information travels faster than light. And now
Mm,
some physicists might understand that, but the people I worked with, they say, okay, wait, let's not get there first. Let's try to see what else we can do first. And so then you ask, okay, what can we do? And so Speckins, my supervisor at Perimeter, he developed this framework of a quantum causal structure. And it's actually by chance, it's the overlap with causal inference because they both
mm,
came from two different approaches at different times. And then they realized that, wait, these two fields actually have a lot of overlap.
cool.
And Rob was actually one of the pioneering people in that kind of intersection. But what he said is, okay, let's develop this quantum causal structure. And then that changes if you have like a graph of this causes that. It changes the math a bit from conditional probabilities and do operators to quantum math. So density operators and stuff like that.
Very cool. And then that has an overlap with AI that you've done as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit of a meta science, causal inference, and so it connects to so many things. But the overlap with AI is I like AI. I like to learn how people work. And causal inference as a field is, causal inference, statistics, AI, it's all kind of very kind of blurry lines. And so I'm leading a team at What AI, which is the University of Waterloo's AI design team. And there were about 15 students. The co-lead is a CS PhD student at the university, Christopher. We lead about 15 students, some master students. We work with a startup called Gluru. They're a diabetes management app startup. They're successful. Have I think about 100K active users.
Wow.
And so what they do is they help people manage the diabetes better, which is a very hard disease and it requires a lot of intuition building. And so where a causal inference comes through is I said the word counterfactual a few minutes ago, which means what would happen had I done something differently in the past. So what we worked on is, and we're still working on more of it, but the big project is if you have your diabetes app, it's connected to your smartwatch. And so it knows when you work out, when you wake up, how well was your sleep, what's your heart rate, stuff like that. And if it's also connected to your
Mm,
glucose monitoring device, then what we're able to do with all that data is put that out through some complicated modeling. Then we can answer the question of, I had this very bad episode, these very bad 3 hours. My blood glucose spiked and then went way, way down. And I'm just new. If you're just new with diabetes, you don't know how to work with it. So we can actually answer, okay, what would have happened had I had taken insulin at a different time, maybe 15 minutes earlier or later, or maybe more or less insulin? And what would the trajectory look like in that counterfactual scenario?
very cool.
And so that was very fun. I have a great team. We all worked pretty hard on it, and as well as other projects with Glue in the diabetes space.
Hmm. And how does the AI part fit into the causal inference part? Are they the same thing or are they two separate pieces?
So like AI is a very general, very broad umbrella, but causal inference, you can think of it as statistics, but you can power it with AI. So the more kind of clear way to say it would be, you have a causal structure, you have a bunch of dirty real world data. If you want to take that data and put it into a causal structure, you use causal inference methods and AI tools, kind of use the kind of function replicating power of AI. So
Hmm.
AI is really good at taking the raw data, you give it some constraints, causal constraints, and then get functions out of it. So that's how it connects.
All right, thank you. That's a bit of a new field for me, so I appreciate the intro.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask you about the project that first caught my eye when I saw you posting on LinkedIn was Thespera. Could you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that? Because it seemed like a super cool idea, and I'd love to know just why you built it
Cool.
and what it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So in January or December, I was really frustrated because I kept having to tell ChatGPT a lot of things to configure it for me. Stuff like, talk less, please. And, more directly on theoretical subjects or maybe more verbose when I talk to it about art or stuff like that. Or maybe it should remember that I go to school in the University of Waterloo. Maybe you should remember this friend of mine that I needed help crafting a message to, and it just needed more memory and more personalization. And I figured at the time, well, you could do a lot better with very minimal effort. And so I wrote this very simple chatbot at the start to basically monitor a conversation you have with an AI and kind of extract insights to save at a database. And then you use those insights next time. And the more I thought about it, I made the architecture a bit more complicated. So if you're an AI guy, then you know that conversations, they belong in like a vector database because then you can do a big search somewhat easily. And maybe a relationship, like a social network. There's my mom, there's this friend, and how everything connects. And for every node, every person, there should be information that you can then kind of look back into in a very compartmentalized way. And so that's the graph database. And then maybe stuff personalization features directness, and then a score from 0 to 5, and maybe like a confidence. So it could kind of update it basally. That's in a more tabular database. And so I've kind of iterated it on a step by step, and it got very fun. Then I thought, okay, well, wait. I could, and then, there's all these new MCP tools that were out there at the time. So I talk to my girlfriend on WhatsApp often. Maybe she every once in a while she sends me a message and says, "I'm kind of pissed that you spend all day inside coding. We should go out more." Maybe the AI that already knows so much about me, and that I've talked to it about my girlfriend, so that we can maybe to clarify her perspective for something or anything. It should take that and then help me. So in Persona, which is under the domain Thersona for whatever reason, because it was cheaper.
Mm.
So the naming is a bit weird, but it has a For You page of stuff like that. So if it sees that sort of message, it would look for a restaurant in Waterloo for that fits our vibe, and suggest and give me a Google Maps link to book a reservation. And maybe in the future it could book their reservation for you, but I'm not there yet. Or maybe if it's connected to my calendar, it would know that in a few days or in a few weeks, my sister's birthday is coming up. And if I told it about my sister, then it could give me an Amazon link to something that I should buy her and stuff like that.
So it sounds like you felt that problem of ChatGPT is just not connected to my context, and
Mhm.
you started solving it. I guess I'm curious about that. How did you get into that kind of thing? Because these two domains, quantum and building AI and getting involved with software, they sound pretty different.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a bit different, but honestly, I found that the barrier of entry to all of things is lower than people realize. If you're able to pick up tools quickly, and you're comfortable with not understanding completely everything, then
I like that.
it's like a 80-20 principle. There's a lot of tools that can get 80% of the job done with 20% of the effort. And then you need to iterate on that to actually make it worthwhile for other people to use.
Mm. So then what's been the most challenging part of the journey, and are you still working on it?
I'm still working on Persona. Yeah, I presented at Socratica Symposium. That's where you saw the Persona post, and that was very fun. I got a bunch of people interested on the wait list. I sent it out to a few. It's just I don't have monetization yet,
Mm.
so I didn't want to give it out to too many people because it costs money to operate. But I'm still working on it. I'm actually going to a conference here in San Francisco next month, and I'm hoping to meet a lot of people there that could that would want to join and help out. And so I'm working on the side for now, so that I can release it. For example, if there's an Amazon link that it suggests, that get it like an affiliate link,
Mm.
so I could somewhat monetize it and can actually give it to people. And yeah, that's what I'm working on now.
Very nice. It sounds like it's something that you would enjoy doing full time. Is that on your mind?
Yeah. Yeah, it's super fun. I think my main motivation is understanding people, and I like working on stuff that helps me understand people better. And that's been one of the Persona projects has been one of the projects where I felt the more I thought about it, the more I saw ways that I could enjoy it even more. And so I really do like it. Yeah.
Mm. I like that angle because I agree. Understanding people, it's
Yeah.
hard and it's
Yeah.
nebulous. Is there anything that's been a surprising insight that you've got from this project?
There's an angle about privacy for it because it knows so much about you. So are you comfortable with that? And I think I've realized both by seeing how friends worked with it and introspection, I think I've realized that a lot of the feelings that comes from knowing how much like Instagram listens to you feels like you're being exploited in a way. You first of all can't really control it because if it listens while your phone is just there, well, what are you gonna do? It's as if it's trying to do it without you knowing, and
Yeah.
and so it's not very much in your control. So you feel like you're being exploited. And another way is that it doesn't directly improve your experience. And
Mm.
so, for example, the way these free apps work is they gather information about you in order to give you better ads so that they can monetize and give you a free service. Now, with Persona, the more it knows about you and you choose what to give it, it's not like it's trying to do it without you knowing it or any way. And you can also see explicitly all the context window it has about you and kind of remove anything or modify. But
Nice.
the more it knows about you, the the better it works for its intended purpose. So Instagram doesn't get better. It doesn't give you a better picture of that your friend posted if it knows more about you. No, it just gets you the free app. And with persona, if you want to use it at all, then you would prefer if it knows more about the stuff that you wanted to know about. And so
Yeah.
that's how it's built.
Yeah. There's a psychology angle to the privacy as well. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. And do you think, well, what do you see as the overlap between AI and humans? Does that help you understand people better as well?
I don't know. So the questions, if you're trying to design AI, you kind of need to ask questions about how humans operate. All of the tech that's most successful out there is imitation of nature in a way. So you can especially see it in hardware. There's a lot of physics that's replicated between how some birds glide and stuff like that. And so when you ask, for example, what information should I give to an AI so that it works best for me? You're asking effectively also, if I come up to this new person, what do I need to tell him before he's able to do that job? And what would be some things that they might get wrong, or how should I talk to actually communicate well and stuff like that? And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that because I like to say that prompting AI has taught me to prompt humans better too.
Yeah, there's kind of like a funny dynamic where I swear people start talking more like an AI back because they interact so much with it.
Yeah, I think that's funny. I like that too. One question that I think is on everybody's mind with a podcast like this is, Dvir, are you an AI?
So if I was, I would stutter a bit less,
Nice.
and I would be definitely have a London accent if I was an AI.
Very
Yeah.
nice. I talk to one sometimes that has an Australian accent. No reason.
Mm,
It's just
it's
nice.
Bordy, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
It's awesome. Yeah, I like the accent. That's the main feature for me.
I like that too. That's a good point. Yeah, there's some things I'd change if I were an AI too. And is there anything else you'd like to share about what you're working on or?
No, I'm very, I like to talk to people, so I guess I like to put my name out there, and if anybody wants to talk, come talk.
Thanks for listening. I made this podcast because I want to be the person at the city gate to talk to every person coming in and out doing great things with AI and find out what and why, and then share the learnings with everyone else. It would mean a lot if you could share the episode with someone that you think would like it. And if you know someone who would be a great person for me to talk to, let me know. Please reach out to me at Daniel Maneri on LinkedIn or shoot an email to daniel@maneri.house, which is Daniel at MANARY.HAUS. Thanks for listening.